Hi guys, so I'm going to be planting some pepper plants in the house today, and I thought I would share with you how I do this. I'm not a professional, but I've been gardening for many years and this is what works for me, so I thought I would share it with you. So I start off with 9-ounce plastic cups. I like the plastic cups because I can wash them out and reuse them, and they're a cheap alternative to other pots specifically made for gardening. So to put the drainage holes in the bottom, I use a wood burner with a blunt tip. I put 8 or 9 holes in the bottom. They don't have to be perfect, they just have to let the water in. You can do this with a drill, but it leaves the plastic all jagged and kind of a mess, and the pressure from pressing on the drill to get the holes through can crush the cup. So I choose to use a wood burner. But make sure that you do this outside because it lets off fumes that you don't want to be breathing in. The other thing that I use are 10-20 trays. 18 of the cups will fit in this. That's why I like to use them. Unfortunately, after a year or two, a lot of these are, when they're poured, they're so thin in the corners that you end up with holes in them. So I'm currently looking for a more permanent, cheaper solution to having to replace these every year or two. So if you guys know of anything, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your suggestions. So the next thing that I use is seed starting potting mix. Now I am in no way affiliated or sponsored by any of the products that I'm using today. These are just the ones that I like to use. They've worked for me, and this is what I prefer. I tried to use a different seed starter a while ago, and I put Miracle-Gro right next to this other seed starter, and it paled in comparison to the Miracle-Gro. So I don't even waste my money anymore. I just buy this because it works for me, and it does a good job. The other plants had a little bit harder time starting in the garden, and they were a little bit stunted, and it just wasn't worth it to me to use something else. You can use whatever you prefer, but this is what works for me. This is what I use. I also use a big pot because I can dump my dirt in here and I can mix water in it before I put them in the cups. If you don't moisten, everybody hates that word, if you don't add water to your dirt before you put it in the cup, you're going to hate life. It's going to be a mess. It's going to go all over the place. The dirt will just float when you try to put water in it. It won't absorb very well. So I like to mix the water in here first before I put the dirt in my cup. It just makes life easier. So I'm going to be planting some bell peppers, several different kinds of those. I have some banana peppers, some Anaheim, some jalapenos, some snack peppers, and I have some eggplant. And they take about as long as the peppers do, so I start the eggplant with my peppers. The back of the pepper plants say that they take, that you should start them 7 to 8 weeks before your last spring frost. I like to start them 8 to 10 weeks because they germinate slower and they take a little bit longer, and I don't want them pot bound or overgrown, but I want them to be stout enough to handle when I set them out to acclimate them. So I start them 8 to 10 weeks before my last frost. And the tomato plants I'll start a little bit later because they do sprout faster and they do grow faster, and I don't want them gangly or pot bound when I go to put them in the garden. So without further ado, I'm going to set up the time lapse and I'm going to get to planting. Thanks guys.